Hi guys, how you going? Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new, welcome. We're going to be doing something a bit different today. We're going to be doing some stuff with the Thermomix. Now, I never thought I'd say it today, but the wife's been eyeing Thermomix off for many years. She's decided to make the decision to buy one. And I don't know who's more excited, me or her. And again, they're quite an expensive beast. And again, I've never used them before, but again, we had our first session with our Thermomix consultant today, Georgia. Thank you very much. You were fantastic. And I'm pretty excited actually to see how it goes. Again, normally my wife and I, we do lots of cooking in the kitchen. We love cooking and we do everything from scratch. So I'm intrigued to see how we can fit this sort of into our lives. And based on sort of what I'm reading and seeing, it's going to make our lives pretty easy, time-wise, I think. So, and probably expand our repertoire of meals. So, what I'm going to take you through today is just my first time using it. So, like I said, we had a session with the consultant. She cooked a vegetable stock with us. That seems to be the stock standard thing they do for the first time. So, I'll probably fumble my way through it. But I'm going to actually, we had some ricotta, which was coming up on Newsbuy. So, I went through ricotta recipes, went on Cookie Do, and I found a ricotta gnocchi one. So I'm gonna do that one. This ricotta gnocchi is actually, the recipe on Cookie Do is making ricotta gnocchi from scratch, i.e. making the ricotta, then making the gnocchi, then making the sauce. So what I'm gonna be doing is, I've actually got the ricotta, so I'm gonna skip that portion of it and I'm actually just gonna make the gnocchi. And then in another video, we'll tackle the sauce, okay? So let's get started. Alright, so if you check out the ingredients for the gnocchi on this one, it's got, again, 80 grams Parmesan cheese, again, cut into pieces. So it's assuming whole chunks, so you can throw whole chunks in and I'll actually grate it up for you. I've actually got grated, so I'm going to skip that step. And again, 150 grams of plain flour, or pasta flour, 1 egg, some salt, and some ground nutmeg. Okay. Now I've made ricotta gnocchi many times from scratch, and it does take a little bit of time to get it all done. So I'll be intrigued to see sort of how quickly this is. But again, it's a really simple recipe, gnocchi. Anyone can make it, and I dare say this will be quite even simpler. All right, let's go have a look. Let's go across to the machine. All right, guys, so we're gonna get started. Machine is on. I've gone through the menus and selected the ricotta gnocchi. So we're gonna go start cooking. Now, there's one thing when I was speaking to our consultant, Georgia. So basically, there's quite a few steps in this recipe that I actually want to skip. So I'll actually take you through the process. All right, so if we go back, okay. So this is the ricotta gnocchi, right? Now, if I click start cooking, it's saying I need to put in the full cream milk, and the full cream milk is if I want to actually make ricotta. I don't want to make ricotta. So we're gonna go backwards. And you're going to click down this function here, and it actually brings up the recipe, okay? Now what we can do is we can scroll down and skip the ricotta portion of it, and we're going to go down to the ricotta gnocchi, okay? So this will be interesting too. This particular step, I don't need to grate it, so we'll see if we can skip it. So we're going to start here, okay? So let's pop this off. And we're gonna tear 0, and we need 80 grams of Parmesan. So the Parmesan I'm using is actually already grated, so beautiful. I love this weighing function. All right, click next. Okay, now, this next step, I want to actually skip it, so we'll see what happens. Option, click next. Okay, now we're actually going to, instead of grading it, I'm actually going to skip these steps in total. Click next. Beautiful. Okay, next is flour. Go about plain flour. Okay, 114. 150 grams. Beautiful. Next, an egg. Next, bit of salt. Okay. Next, bit of nutmeg. Be careful with nutmeg, not too much, can be quite overpowering. Next, okay, 300 to 340 grams, all right, 300 to 340 grams of ricotta. Now, I've actually got 375, so it's not going to matter. There we go. Next, insert measuring cup into mixing bowl lid. Okay, so I actually had the lid off, so let's pop that on. Pop that on. Okay, make sure that's facing out. Click next. Okay, so now it's 30 seconds. We're going to turn the dial to full and watch it do its thing. Alright, so now, okay, unlocks, pop this off, have a quick look. Alright, so that's our consistency. Looks a bit moist to me. So I'm going to put a bit more flour in there. All right, so let's check it out. Open. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that consistency now. At the end of the day, I can put more flour when I take it out and start rolling it.
Why is this here?
All right, next. Transfer dough to silicone bread mat or light floured work. Surface and gently work into a ball, then divide into 4 portions. Roll each portion into thin sausage shapes and then cut into 1 centimetre pieces using spatula. And if desired, gently score gnocchi by rolling pieces. Transfer to bowl onto the side. Alright, let's go take it over to the surface. Alright, let's get some flour on the bench. Now it felt quite moist to me. So I think we'll end up having to add quite a bit of flour. Alright, use your Thermomix spatula. Alright, so that's pretty much everything out of the bowl. There's always going to be a little bit left around the centre. Alright, now I know for a fact consistency wise it's just still too moist. So I used 375 grams of ricotta. It's suggested somewhere between 300 and 340. Then I added another 40 grams of flour to it, and that's still definitely not enough. So, okay. All I need. You'll feel in your hands when you're working with it as to whether it's too moist. All right, I'm pretty happy with that consistency now. Just give it one last sprinkle. So it should be dry to the touch. okay? You can see that sort of consistency and not feel moist, okay? But you feel it's really soft, really, really soft. And I suggest if you're going to start working with dough, whether it's pizza dough, pasta, whatever, get one of these scrapers. They just make cleaning up so much more easier. So that's all the slightly moist stuff that's stuck to the bench. Straight into the bin. So this is a good lesson for if something goes wrong, i.e. the ratio of ricotta and flour. And again, there's a few variables when you're working with pasta, and moisture is one of them. So there's nothing wrong with adding more flour, or if it's way too dry, you'd add more water. But in this case with ricotta, because ricotta is quite moist. And it depends on your ricotta too, how firm your ricotta is, whereas this particular ricotta was quite moist, so it just needed more flour, okay? So don't worry about it, just keep adding a bit of flour until you get it to the right texture, okay? All right, so let's portion it out. All right, so what we're gonna do now is reflour the surface. All right, get your dough. I'm gonna cut it into 4 portions. 1, 2. They don't have to be equal or anything. And then what I do is, because the one side is normally a bit moist, tap it into a bit of flour. Okay, make sure there's ample flour. Okay, now get yourself a tray with a bit of greaseproof paper. And what we're going to do now, and again, you got to be careful, it's about the right amount of flour. Too much flour, and it makes it difficult to roll these, okay? So if you get the wrong ratio of flour, it will make it hard, okay? So I've got too much flour at the moment. It's been a while since I've done these. Okay, so we've got a bit of friction happening now. You need a little bit of friction. You can always just stretch it out. Okay. All right, so that's about 1.5 centimetre thickness, whatever you like. Chop it in half to make things easier. Put them next to each other. And then bang, 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 bang. That's it. Now at this stage, you can throw a bit more flour on top. Just makes it easier, okay? Pick them up with your scraper. Okay. Get the next one. Okay. Like I said, it's the right balance of moisture and flour. So not too much flour because then it makes it too hard to roll. And then simply set and repeat. And again, learn from my mistakes. Again, the flour just helps them stop from sticking together. Okay. Now, depending on obviously how big you eat, portion size, this should be enough for at least 4 to 5 people. And again, because I've added a bit more flour, I've put a little bit more gnocchi, hence the slightly larger portion size. Now, when you're doing this, if it's getting too long and unmanageable, just chop it in half. Now that's stuck to the bench there. Needs a bit more flour. Okay. And then start again. can always just stretch it too. Again, just make sure it's the same sort of consistency. So it's my first time doing this recipe with cookadoo, but I've made ricotta gnocchi many times before. And I can tell by the texture and just the way it feels. Ingredients the same as my other recipe, so it should be good. And ricotta gnocchi is so much better than potato gnocchi. There you go. How's that? Beautiful. Now, just a tip, guys, once you've made your gnocchi, if you actually want to pre-make gnocchi when you've got spare time, you can. You basically just make it like that, put it on the tray, make sure that they're all separate and not touching each other, and then get the tray and actually just put it straight in the freezer and let it freeze like that. And then once it's all frozen, take the tray out, then tip them all into your Tupperware container or a plastic container, pop that back into the freezer, and Bob's your uncle. Nice and simple. And then you can make just multiple batches. So if that's enough for your family portion size, you know, then make that portion, pop it in the pre-made container, pop it in a container, and it's nice and simple. Then you just gotta make the sauce. And that's what I'm gonna do next. So you can check out that video too. And then that's a really, really quick and easy meal. Okay guys, just some tips and tricks for the ricotta gnocchi. Okay, now, moisture in the ricotta is important. If it's too moist, you're gonna have to add a lot more flour. If you have to add a lot more flour, it's gonna become too dense, okay? So with the ricotta, if it's a bit moist, actually drain some of the liquid out. Get the muslin cloth, let it drain overnight or for as long as you can, and that'll drain a lot of liquid out, okay? Less liquid means you have to add less flour. Less flour means it's going to be more tender and less dense, okay? So other than that, it's pretty straightforward. All right, so that's how you make potato. All right, so that's how you make ricotta gnocchi with the Thermomix. It was pretty simple. Again, just keep in mind the moisture content of the ricotta will affect a lot. So you just may have to adjust for that. Again, obviously using the Thermomix, it was nice and simple and easy. So next time what I will do is, based on that type of ricotta that I used, that portion of ricotta, where it was 150 grams, I'm actually add 250 grams of flour, okay? And then afterwards, if it's too much, I'll adjust it and just keep adding a little bit more. If you're a little bit unsure on that, don't worry, just go with whatever's in the recipe, and then afterwards you can tweak it. You can always add flour afterwards. It just gets a little bit sticky to work with. You just need to get that ratio right. And once you get the ratio right for the ricotta you're using, then you shouldn't have to alter it, okay? And to cook it, again, just throw it in the water, boil some water, a bit of salt in the water, let it get to boiling, drop the gnocchi in, and basically, literally, within a minute or two, they'll float to the top, and then as soon as they float to the top, they're ready, okay? Pretty simple. All right, so this is my first Thermomix one. I'm sure there'll be probably many more to come. And yeah, hope to see you in the next video. Again, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, spread the word around, spread the recipes. And again, I'll let you know in about 3 months or 6 months what I really think of the Thermomix. It's day one. I'm kind of excited. Let's see if it keeps going. All right, guys, catch you later. Bye. And thanks, Georgia.